Welcome back. Welcome back to Mindless Monday. If you are new here, this is a podcast about real life. This is a podcast where we take off the mask and we speak from a space of not only authenticity, but authority. Welcome back. It is another Monday and we are here together. Let us take a second just to recognize how special it is to be in another opportunity to be human, another opportunity on your life journey, another opportunity to pivot, to receive, to be in community. I am excited about all the new things that are coming along and coming together. But today, I actually want to talk about what it feels like to stand in the gap. I am currently in the gap. In the waiting room is what I've called it before. It is a space that is very uncomfortable, but I'm getting comfortable getting uncomfortable, but we'll get to that. But it's a space where it doesn't really photograph well. It's a space where you kind of know things are happening, but you don't kind of know how they're happening, but also you're leaving a part of yourself. It's a transformational point. And I know I've talked so much about playing the game of life and your aura beaming up. But if we focus so much on the beam, we're going to forget what it feels like to be on the ground. And after you beam up, after you shift to another version of yourself, after you move into a space of awareness that is far beyond where you were, there is a newness and a novice type of energy that you'll take on because you are now learning a new version of yourself and you're also applying things and wisdom that you've gained, but at the same time it's a new territory. And so I want to talk about that because it always feels like it's a low. And it's not really a low, it's just that we're coming from a space of being cosmic and being so focused on being in the air and in the quantum that we have to understand that it is important as a human to put your feet on the ground and get into embodiment. So standing in the gap for me feels like embodiment. It feels like the space before another sped up momentum. It feels a little bit like uncertainty. And it has even had me doubting certain things about myself or about the things that I want or about the things that I've seen. And it's a space where it's become a very prime, I want to say like a prime soil, good foundational soil to reflect, to accept, to feel. I've been crying a lot lately to feel. It has been a space where I really have come to appreciate. I've come to appreciate it. And so if you're standing in the gap right now, or if you're uncertain, or if you're waiting, or you feel like you're waiting, or you're unsure, or even you feel a little instability, this podcast episode is for you. When we're in the gap, we need to recognize that it allows us to be conscious about the fact that we are in a physical body. It allows us to recognize that reality is a real thing, and being in reality causes you to take physical action and do physical things. When you're in the gap, it may feel like so many things are spiraling around you, or there's one thing after another. But what I want you to remember always is that being in the gap, and it gives you an opportunity to put your feet on the ground. So when your feet are on the ground, that is when you're feeling a sense of peace that surpasses all understanding. You're actually starting to recognize that you have the ability to be still and to stand still and not panic or frantic or be anxious about other things that are taking place, because you know being in the gap or being on the ground is exactly where you're supposed to be. For me personally, I've been in a gap for probably about a week or so now, if I put some time on it, but probably before then. And I have really been in such a reflective state in regards to who I am, who I've become. I'm 39 years old, so I'm thinking about that. Next year is 40. I'm thinking about my child being a senior, which I talked about that before. I'm thinking about old relationships. I'm thinking about old versions of myself. I'm thinking about the mom that I am and how that's so different than the mom that I thought I'd be. Is so much better, so much richer, but it's also so different than the mothering that I experienced. And so it puts me in a space of grief and a little sadness. But at the same time, like, I'm so grateful to see a soul that I've birthed and guided here to have a whole different representative of what motherhood is. We focus so much about breaking generational patterns, and when we do, we don't really know what to do with that. And so it's been an interesting ride to feel both joy and grief at the same time. And a lot of it has translated and gave me a lot of clarity as to how I feel about my right now, right? So if there are certain things that I want to do and achieve, why did it take me so long to see myself? That's a question that I asked myself. So many people around me have convinced me of who I am. But it has taken this long for me to really see myself and get into this settledness of myself. And I don't know if we can attribute it to age, because a lot of people say the closer you get 40, the more you don't give a, and that could be it, right? I don't want to swipe anything off the table. However, I do know that the wisdom that I've gained is a derivative of the work that I've done. And I have the consciousness and awareness to see all the work that I've done and what that looks like. And to be a witness to the result of the work, if it causes me to have to stand in the gap, baby, put me in the gap. Because I rather see how good God is and know how good God is and know how good I am and see how good I am for myself with my feet on the ground. We are all so focused on what's next. And this is a call to be present with what your gap feels like, and to be okay feeling. It is okay not to be okay. It is okay to cry. It is okay to not have the happiest, joyous moment. I feel like spirituality and our spiritual journey has been marketed in a way to where we're trying to be an avoidant and we're trying to escape and we're trying to manifest. But what about being human? Because that's why we're here. And so I think that there's a marriage and a commitment that needs to happen between who you identify with as a spirit and who you feel you are versus who you're operating as. And that's about identity. And a lot of the times when things are happening around us, like experiences that catch us off guard, it tends to shake up our identity and cause us to be more reflective, perhaps more grateful for all that we've weathered through and all the things we've accomplished and how good we already are. I think when things are not happening the way that we want them to happen, people automatically think that it means misalignment. And I was teaching my masterclass this last week, and I talked about that. I talked about how we keep thinking that when something is happening that we don't prefer, that we're out of alignment. We're always in alignment. You are always in alignment. I don't care what's happening in this moment. You are in alignment because who you are right now is necessary for the next version of you. It's necessary for you right now. And it's necessary for your past to even be your past. I want you to understand that there is not a such thing as misalignment. And even when we outgrow people, places, or things, it doesn't mean that we just weren't in alignment. It just means that you grew. You grew in a direction. I think the energy behind the word misalignment makes it feel like it's something bad. Maybe instead of misalignment, we're just on the other side of aligning. Maybe alignment is really what we need to consciously digest this as. But it's always moving, so it's never perfectly balanced, which is why I think I got this from my friend, but I start using the word harmony instead of balance, because balance feels very even kill and like it's something that you have to literally balance. And how much energy does that take versus how much energy does it take when you're just flowing in alignment, when you're harmonious with yourself, when you're harmonious with the divine. Even though when things are happening, you may feel friction. You may feel like everything is happening against you. You may feel like you've done something wrong, but it's really just turning itself, turning the wheel. And it is okay to be uncomfortable. It is okay to be uncomfortable when things are turning. It is not meant for you as a human being, nor do I think it's humanly possible for you to sit here and always be good every moment of the day without any fluctuation in emotion you're just holding. I want us to be able to feel all spectrums of our emotion, whether it be joy, whether it be sadness, whether it be disappointment, whatever it is, right? Whether it be, excitement, whatever it is, you came into this human body so that you can feel all of that. So let's take the pressure off of ourselves thinking that we're not in alignment, or even treating our spiritual journey like it's a 1, 2, 3 step and that it looks the same as everything else, or that there are markers to let you know that you're in alignment. Yeah, I know we see synchronicities like numbers and we get messages and downloads all the time, but it's not a signal to show you you're in alignment. It just reminds you that you can see. It just reminds you that you're tapped in, right? But alignment is what you already are. Every message and every opportunity to receive a message, every opportunity to experience someone else, every opportunity to speak up for yourself, every opportunity to create something is you being in alignment. And whether you take the opportunity or not, you are still in alignment, because in order to get into the body, you are a spirit, right? And you're in a human body. In order to get into a body, your spirit is so powerful that it operates so on such a high frequency that it had to slow itself down into matter to get into this body. So you're always in alignment with the cosmos because it's a part of who you are. However, you are also in alignment with your physical being because that's why you came here. And that is why we're standing in gaps. That's why we can see the difference when things are changing or the tides are turning. We have the pleasure to witness and be aware of our life turning and shifting and making and creating something beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. And it doesn't always feel beautiful. I'm not going to sit here and hold you. I probably spent the last couple of days crying, being in the bed, being silent, being a little distant, giving myself space to grieve, to cry, to write. I've done it, right? It was ugly. I was looking ugly while doing it. But I did it because I'm not going to skip my work. I didn't come this far not to come this far. Right? I have the tools, and so I'm going to use my tools to help me feel the unprocessed emotion that is arising in me that wants to be felt and experienced. At the end of the day, it is not misalignment, it is resistance. You take resistance as misalignment, and it's not. Resistance is a part of the process. It's a part of you adjusting and transitioning to a new version of yourself. It's a part of you adjusting and transitioning to a new age, to a new environment, to a new job, to a new relationship. Resistance is your old identity holding on to itself and saying, no, I don't want to change. It feels good here. That's the resistance that really feels like misalignment. Because when you're in surrender, baby, and when you're trusting, you are allowing the current to come. You're allowing the emotions to flow. You don't have a problem if it's not a quote unquote good day. You know that it's a part of the process, and you might not like it, but you respect it. You respect that it's a part of your process, and it's a part of the joy of being human, of being able to feel, of your nervous system working, of you being able to feel in harmony with everything that you are. Because there are some people that are not harmonious with that, and they are in a version of a psychosis, or they are numbed out and kind of out of their body and doing things that just are destructive, right? So the fact that you have the awareness to look at your journey from a different perspective, and you get the time allotted for that while you're waiting for the next thing, is actually very beautiful, because you're literally able to experience so many sides and so many versions of what's actually happening for you in your life. And again, like I said, the emotions are not always the most comfortable to feel, but they're yours to feel. And I encourage you to feel them. As you're moving through your transition, allow your emotions to move and allow yourself to be okay being you. Nothing is on pause just because you can't see the next step. honestly, there are new roots forming and you have reached better soil. So it's not that nothing's happening while you're in this gap or while you're in the space where you feel resistance or you feel misalignment. Something is happening. It's just happening in the dark. Everything grows in the dark. Everything grows in the dark. Roots form. And I think it was Myron Golden that I heard say, like, there are roots, like a tree has roots that grow up and grow down. And that really changed my mindset because I thought, wow, like even though I can't see it, I'm being more tethered into my experience. Even though I can't see it, God is literally allowing the roots to grow down and get comfortable and get intertwined together to be an anchor for me. An anchor for me of where I've leaped to, right? And so then what grows out of that is this trunk, which is this super like extra strong, piece of matter that can withstand. And from that grows branches and perhaps leaves. And my tree has flowers, so it blooms flowers and it goes through seasons. And so the gap is a beautiful space to be. We're actually in a transitional space here. Like, I know that a lot of you guys listen to me from all over the world. So in Atlanta, Georgia, we are towards the end of August, and the trees are already changing color. The leaves are already falling. I don't know why when I was driving, I recognized that the leaves are already falling, and I already had felt like, wow, I feel like I'm grieving summer already. Like, I feel like it's already over or it's already transitioning. And this is my first year after living here for 8 years. This is my first year really paying attention to nature and how it feels as it's starting to transition. Not when we start to recognize all the leaves are gone, but right before the leaves are everywhere on the ground, right when they're just starting to change. The fact that I'm so present in my experience that I notice that. And I recognize that it was a representative of where I am. My leaves are just turning. I'm transitioning. I am transforming. And the leaves don't have any resistance. It's just something that happens naturally. They do not have the consciousness that we have to resist, but they are a representation of surrender and how surrendering is also beautiful. Surrendering is beautiful. You don't have to do anything. You can just allow, you can just receive. I know that we are addicted to resolution and we are addicted to solution. But the solution isn't the solution without the space in between. Otherwise, it would just be, the process wouldn't even be the process, honestly. So we're so used to it because we're programmed to think that everything is supposed to happen on our time and that it's supposed to happen when we think it. And we live in a fast-paced society where we have all this access to information. So we assume that just as we're being overflooded, that our process will be overflooded with solution and answers and when we need them. But you fail to forget that the divine and your human and spiritual journey is forever changing, but in alignment with an unchanging love, a divine energy, right? And so because it's in alignment with a divine energy, the divine energy takes its process and its creative process. It appreciates the art of life. And you are a representation of that energy. So I'm really just trying to get you to appreciate your content, which is what we had talked about a few episodes ago. Appreciate the content of your life. Appreciate the context, because you are the currency of your life and you are going through every phase that is necessary for whatever's next. And for you not to be so focused on what's next and tomorrow and next year, but to be present. Because to be present with yourself is to be present with God. You can practice presence and mindlessness all the time by just really not having your phone in your hand and not always being on the phone and not always multitasking. I feel like we're taught to multitask because life teaches us that. But there are spaces where we have the opportunity not to multitask and we don't take advantage of that, right? So I'm allowing myself to not multitask and to be more structured in what I need for me. And that is why I say the gap has felt very beautiful, it's with so much clarity, and I have so much appreciation for it. Everything is not in accordance to the way I had planned. Everything doesn't look exactly like I want it to look, but I love me, and I love that I made it here. And I remember where there were so many other things that weren't taken care of in the other versions of myself. And some things got taken care of, and God listen, the life that I have, it is so different than where I was. But there are some things that I haven't fixed yet, is what I was going to say. Some things that I'm still working on, and that's also okay. I know who I am. In order to discover who you are, you have to be willing to get silent with yourself. You have to be willing to put that phone on D&D. You have to be willing to say no to going out. You have to be willing to address the feelings that are arising, because I know that some of us have feelings that arise and we numb it out, right? Some people numb it out with THC, numb it out with liquor, numb it out with being addicted to food, numb it out with being addicted to being out or being, with other people all the time, or numb it out by focusing on the responsibilities that we have in our household or at work, or you become a workaholic, all these things. Anything that is not allowing you to feel in full, to feel fully, becomes a avoidant. You use these things as tools to avoid yourself because it's so uncomfortable to be with yourself without any additional excuse or reason as to why it feels better. We gotta get comfortable being uncomfortable. We gotta get comfortable with standing in the gap, not running, not sprinting, not jogging. I'm not even asking you to take a brisk walk. I'm actually asking you to take the scenic route, right? To really appreciate the view. And we have to get comfortable with that feeling because we're so antsy. We're always, what's next? Oh, I'm manifesting this. Oh yeah, I want to be in a relationship. Oh yeah, you say all these things. And then when you really listen to yourself, you have to ask yourself, are you ready? And maybe standing in the gap is giving you the space to become ready, right? I talked about in my last masterclass about really reviewing your contract. Reviewing the contract that you wrote for yourself in this life. And you rewrite them all the time. You adjust them all the time with your experiences. And so if in your contract, you're saying like, I want this relationship and I'm going to have this, but underneath that, in between the lines or in fine print, it talks about how you ain't ready for this and you don't want to meet nobody, and then you are in conflict with your own contract with yourself. And that is why you feel uneasy. And that is why you feel like there's no movement, because the things that you want, you also have to get ready for, and you have to be okay with the time it takes to be prepared for it. You also have to be okay with the time it takes to actually adjust to it. You have to be okay with the time it takes to maintain it. You have to be okay with the time it takes for it to shift. You have to be okay with the time it takes for it to teach you. Like, there's so much time and presence that you need to be okay with. And that is why you feel like you're all over the place, because you are literally in conflict with your own contract within yourself. I don't have all of the answers, but I do have my experience. And where I'm at in my life, it has me reflecting on so many deep things, I'm becoming deeply aware of a lot of the things that I missed growing up and becoming a woman. I'm becoming deeply aware of the left turns I made when I should have turned, or I could have turned right, I should say. And it's sad. I wish that I could go back to a version of myself and really whisper in her ear. And maybe I was already whispering in her ear, she just wasn't listening. Maybe consciousness was always there, but I wish I can just tell her that it would be okay, and that you didn't have to do this, and you didn't have to people please, and you didn't have to prove yourself to anybody, and you didn't have to search for love in the wrong places, and you didn't have to copy other people because you felt like they were better than you, and you didn't have to be a mean girl at times, or be not understanding of other people because you were trying to protect yourself. I wish that I could honestly relieve the stress and the burden that she carried for so long. I wish that I could be the one to alleviate her, because it was hard and it was heavy, but instead I became the one to alleviate myself. I became my own healer. I became the one that's not afraid to face myself. I became the mother that I needed. I became the friend that I needed. I'm continuing to become the woman in my life that is an example to myself. I became the person who was the purpose and who wasn't afraid to stand up and speak in her purpose. I became the instrument and I became the art. And even though I wish I can go back and like alleviate her, I really am so grateful that I felt it all. She felt it all, because it feels so damn good to be in my body right now. And I know it wouldn't feel this good without all of the things. And I've stood in enough gaps to know that everything is always changing and everything is working out. I just want you to think about it for a second. Think of one thing that you thought was not going to work out and you did not know how it was going to work out. Think about that. And think about how it did. And even if it worked out exactly how you wanted it to, or it didn't, what if it worked out better? What if it worked out and gave you a detour that was the right delay for the next thing that worked out? But it worked out. If you're watching this, it worked out. And it does take more than you dreaming and hoping for it to be different. It takes action. You have to change. If you want something to change, you have to use your autonomy and the ability to do something different. You have the sovereignty of yourself. You have your own identity. You have your ways of doing things. You have your tools. You're going to have to do something different. And the different is going to feel uncomfortable. The different is going to, listen, this is my second time recording Mindless Monday. And talking to the camera to me has felt so weird. Seeing myself really looking in my eyes at the camera has always felt weird. And it's why my eyes will wander when I'm shy to do so, or I get nervous, right? Or I'm thinking and processing. But it was so much easier to be on audio. It was so much easier for you guys to just hear my voice and hear my intention. Easier for me, maybe convenient for you. But the hard thing was to put a camera in my face and look at myself and not steer away for how beautiful I've become and how much of a healer I am and how much of a guide I am and how much of an oracle I am and how much of a woman I am and how much I've grown. It took a lot for me to muster up the courage to get on camera. And then I did it. And while I can critique myself, and I probably can critique this one too, I knew that just taking the leap and doing the thing and being uncomfortable and going through the anxiety of it all was literally the pathway to being more comfortable, to doing it consistently, to putting a face behind the voice so that you know that I'm a real person and a real human and I'm just like you. That's why it's important, because sometimes you need to see someone who's really embodying everything that they are. I need to see me do that, right? And so now I'm here, and now it's going to be a regular thing. But it was some difficult things that I had to move through this week to even prepare myself to be here, to do it, right? I had to be a little bit more strict with my schedule, with my recording time, with my house being quiet, because that's where I'm recording for now, right? I had to think about, instead of waiting to the end of the week to get the message for Monday, actually paying attention to everything that was happening and everything that I was feeling while it was happening so that I can get the downloads and get the information and get the message for Monday. Instead of waiting to the last minute, I had to be intentional with myself. I had to create space. I had to not answer phone calls. I had to pivot when it was time to pivot. I had to write down notes and not keep it in my mind. I had to show up for myself. And all of that helped me to feel confident and ready because I know what I'm talking about. I know who I am and I know why I'm here, right? So if I didn't go through all those feelings, I wouldn't be here. So really the message is for you to really get cozy with standing in the gap, which leads me to my product of the week that I want to highlight. Because you think I'm going to do this hard thing? Here it is. You think I'm going to do this hard thing and get on here and be talking to y'all and not promote my own products that help me on my journey or that have helped so many people or that are really good quality and do what they say they're going to do? I think not. If I'm going to leap and I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it all. So here we go. This is a Cozy Up roller. It is something that is near and dear to me. I love scent. Scent brings you back to memory. Scent helps regulate your nervous system. It sends different signals to your brain and your body to relax and do different things, right? To speed up at times. But Cozy Up is so comforting. It has vanilla and cardamom and clove, and like it has a red garnet crystal for crystal healing and infusion for being grounded. Red garnet is a really good grounding root crystal that you can use as a tool to remind you to ground, right? And so the oil is infused with it and it smells so good. And it smells like, I'm gonna smell it on camera. So it smells warm and spicy and like a hint of vanilla, but not cakey, but like a little bit of nutmeg, but not too pie-ish, but like a little bit of warmth, I think I said, and stillness and stability. It's amazing. And it feels like a hug. It feels like I feel like I put my hug in here. I feel like I put my hug in Cozy Up. So I want, like, Cozy Up is me giving you a hug. It's you giving yourself a hug. And it's a roller. It's something that you can roll on your wrist. I've been putting a lot of things on my heart space lately because it's just been so tender. And I love Cozy Up for that because it just reminds me that it's okay. Like, it's okay, sweetie. I feel like Cozy Up is saying, you're doing great, sweetie, when we're using it for healing in this way. And so this is what I wanted to highlight. It smells super good. It is so good for you to be able to carry with you. That's why I made it in a travel size roller. And you can throw it in your bag. You can throw it in your laptop case. You can throw it in your middle console of your car. You can have it next to your nightstand. You can use it as a cuticle oil. You can just keep it with you. And it's a reminder when you see it. And that's why I name my products a certain way. Because when you see Cozy Up, what are you going to think of? You're going to think of, wait, it's time to get cozy. Let me get comfortable. Let me buckle up. Let me put my seatbelt on. Let me let God do its thing. Let me do my thing. Let me do my thing. Cozy Up. So this is the KM product of the week that I wanted to highlight. Grab yours today at KimiShon.com. That is KIMEISHON.com. Get y'all some Cozy Up, y'all. I'm gonna be using it all week. I started using it midway last week. I was really using my Create Space candle by lighting it as I worked or lighting it after I cleaned up or just lighting it to smell it. And baby, I had created enough space, okay? The space was created, the gap was created, the space was created, and next thing you know, I was feeling it all. And so I had to move on from Create Space, right? In this season of my life. It's beautiful. It's back here. It's beautiful. However, Cozy Up is I can't create space and be cozy in the space I'm creating. So boom, you see how we're going to interchange and use both? We're going to wake up creating space and getting cozy in the space that we created. Listen, I am my own brand ambassador because I make the products and I know what they do for me. So yeah. So here's what I want to leave you with today. Standing in the gap is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful space to be. Standing in the gap allows you to see God work firsthand. Standing in the gap allows you to see yourself from a different vantage point. Standing in the gap allows you to appreciate everything that's working together. Standing in the gap allows you to foster a better relationship with trusting yourself. And it is an opportunity and a tunnel and a portal for you to come out of it so renewed, so refreshed, and so reset. So standing in the gap is not punishment. I don't want you to feel like you're being punished. I want you to know that there is no such thing as punishment. You are purposeful, and everything is in purpose and on purpose. So I want to leave you with that. If you need some encouragement, we got this. We got it. We're doing it. One moment at a time, one breath at a time, one day at a time. We're doing it. And you're here and you're alive to do it. And that's the blessing within itself. Listen, I'm with you as you journey. You know why? Because I'm on my journey too. And this is until next time. Peace.